Good morning, everyone. Nathan from All Properties Group checking in. It's been a couple of weeks since I've done one of these live market reports. In fact, I've been overseas for a week, so it's good to be back. And what a week it's been. There's been a fair bit happening in the markets while I was away and even this week. So we've got a fair bit to wrap up today. Just letting you know, next week will be my end of year wrap up. It's the biggest video I do every single year. We'll go through a lot of stats, a lot of charts, a lot of actual information and statistics that are going to change or set up the landscape for 2023. So I'm very excited for that video. But there's still a bit we can cover off today. So let's get into it. If you can't hear me, let me know. If you have any questions, make sure you chuck them in the comments below as well. Most of them should show up live, and I'd love to answer those as best as I can. I'm just outside of 9 Wilmington Court in Helensvale, just about to do our first open home of the day this morning. A bit of a late start, and I'll explain the reasons why shortly. This house has just had a massive price reduction down to offers above 989. One of the best value homes on the golf course in Helensvale right now. It is a 3-bedroom plus 2 living area, or separate living area, which could also be a home office, and a massive triple garage at the front, and a separate carport, which is built to the height to allow a caravan to enter at the front. So if you've got toys, you've got a lot of storage, a lot of cars, anything like that, this is the place to be. Or simply, if you want a good opportunity to buy that's been fully renovated. And I'm talking ripped down renovations. There's new walls, new electricals, new ceilings, new plumbing, new everything in this home. Please come down. 10:50 a.m. The open home is going to start today. I'll be here for 40 minutes. I'd love to meet you and see if we can help you buy a home today. And then I'm off to what was supposed to be 28 Saraba Way in Pimpama, but I've actually got a break now because yesterday, late in the afternoon, we signed an unconditional deal on that home. So congratulations to our buyer and our seller. The owner has asked that we don't disclose the sale price online, so feel free to get in contact, but a fantastic result in the Gainsborough Greens estate. So I've got a break in between this one before I head to 7 Melbourne Street in Gainsborough Greens. Fantastic home, 2-story, 37 squares in Gainsborough Greens. We do have an offer on it at the moment, subject to sale, so we are inviting all offers on that home as the owner is open to accepting offers elsewhere. Interest around between the 950 to $1 million mark on that one, so keep an eye out and we'll see what happens with that. And then an auction this afternoon at 3:30 p.m, hence the late start today. 127 Paradise Parade in Calypso Bay. We are expecting to sell that today. We have 1 or 2 very interested parties. We do expect them to be there at the block of land at 3:30 today. Fingers crossed. It's nice. It's not raining this afternoon because there's no undercover at a block of land, but worst case, we'll crack out some umbrellas and see what happens. But let's start. So I read an interesting article when we came back, and of course, 0.25%, the interest rates went up once again, bringing the cash rate to 3.1%. And the interesting part that I think I read today was, of course, the banks have been having to evaluate applications based on increasing the interest rate by 3%, so allowing an extra buffer. So in January, when the cash rate was 0.1%, let's say the interest rates were 1.99, you had to prove the affordability if the interest rates got to 5%. Well, we're there. We're now 3% increased, and that's been between, I believe it was May, maybe a little bit earlier, April or May, to now we've jumped 3%. So what could that mean? Well, the interesting part is those people that may have been stretching themselves might have had to change a few things for their application back when it was 0.1% or 2% for an interest rate and now paying 5%. They're at their maximum, potentially even above. So if we do have those predicted rises, and to be fair, I think everyone is predicting in February when the RBA meets again, we will see another 25 or 50 basis points. Could that mean we start to see that change, that affordability issue around the Gold Coast? In many locations, we're already seeing some stirring, especially with building in that regard to the affordability side of things. So there's been a massive call to the RBA to just calm yourself, allow the interest, the figures to start to ease and the data to catch up on inflation. Because remember, we're always on a lag for the remainder of what's out there. I mean, the property market that they're reporting on, usually they're 3 months behind on the data that they're giving to the RBA, which is not overly helpful for inflation on that side of things. But of course, inflation is still through the roof. 6.9% is not overly great. I think the target, they're still trying to get it back into the threes. So that's why we're expecting that rise. That is going to be the most interesting part. What we have noticed, though, is that despite where we are, where we do know that there are people out there that are stretching themselves, that are having to cut back on certain expenses in order to afford their now much inflated mortgage from when they purchased earlier in the year, I haven't seen an influx of stock in most areas. Pimpma in Gainsborough Greens, for example, we're still at an extremely low level of stock, which is causing a great level of buyer demand out in the marketplace for reasonably priced, well presented homes. We've got other markets where we're seeing a bit of a difference. Maudslin went through a position of having quite a high level of stock, but we've noticed, our Maudslin specialist down there has noticed anyway, that there's been a decrease in stock again. So things are selling quite well. And every suburb, every pocket of a suburb is performing differently. I mean, we look at Jacobs Well, for example, as a whole, and the suburb is performing quite well. There's still some great prices being achieved out there, but we look at the sub-market of Calypso Bay and it's a little bit slower, right? So you've got to look at everything a little bit different. But the biggest concern that I have is going to be post-Christmas. I mean, we're talking to a lot of sellers right now who are gearing themselves up for that January, February sale. So right now, as I said, we've got a very low stock level, so buyer demand's still pretty good. But we're expecting to see January, February an increase in stock. We've got to hope that also brings an influx of buyers, because with the current demand levels, too much stock would obviously affect the marketplace. The question mark, of course, everyone's asking is, are we at the bottom or is there more to drop? Now, no one has a crystal ball. There's no economist, there's no bank, there's no real estate agent that can tell you exactly what's going to happen next, because there's so many different factors, so many different things in the world that have to play out for certain scenarios. And there was a video done by, if anyone knows, Tom Panos, the legend of real estate, and an economist as a recent. And there's pretty much between 5 and 8 possible scenarios throughout 2023 that'll either increase, decrease, or stabilize the market. And so there is no prediction. But what I think we need to look out for is going to be that interest rate rise in February, depending on how heavy they decide to go. Keep an eye out and see if there is any distress selling. And there are obviously the signs of distress selling, but you can keep an eye out for. Yeah, if you see an influx of stock and you can see prices lowering very quickly on a property, that's usually a sign where they have no choice but to move. If we see lots of that, that will, of course, affect the marketplace as well. Number 3 is always just going to be stock levels, supply and demand. While buyers are still there right now and there's a lack of supply, properties are still selling for what is actually great prices. And yes, we have seen a decrease of 10, maybe 15% in some areas, but we've got to remember that what we were chasing before, we're comparing 10 to 15% to the COVID markets. The last 2 years have been an anomaly. It's very rare that you see more than 10 to 20% growth year on year in real estate. In fact, the average is less than 10% year on year growth, which I'm sure many people know out there. So we have to look back before the COVID to be comparing. And we've got to remember 15% drop now is probably 35% increase on most people's profits anyway. And so if you are selling in this market, remember what it was worth 2.5 years ago and what it's worth now, even after a small drop from the peak. You're still doing well. And buyers, remember, the people that were trying to pick the bottom are the people that missed out before COVID started and are now paying 40% more despite the market dropping. You'll never pick the top, you'll never pick the bottom, but long-term growth in real estate has been proven for generations and get in the market. The weather, I'd say, is beautiful, but I'm not sure what the weather's doing today. I'm getting burnt in the sun behind me. It's a bit cloudy in front of me, but get out there, have a good weekend. I believe school holidays are on, so drive safe on the roads. Your traffic will be insane. Heading down the coast just then, traffic was starting to build up, heading south around Helensvale as usual. But I think we're going to start to see that ease throughout the day. There's not many people heading to the beach, I don't imagine, today. But Christmas shopping, everything's going to be crazy. Get out there, guys. If there's anything I can do with your real estate needs, whether it's in December or post-Christmas, I'd love to talk to you. But again, stay tuned. Next week is the big wrap-up. Let's talk stats. Let's talk everything you need to know about real estate on the Gold Coast right now. Have a good weekend. Talk soon.